Ohio State, Penn State, which I don't know, Penn State fans may be upset that this game is not at night. Maybe that favors Ohio State a bit. This will kick off as the big noon, or I should say the big 12:15 Eastern game on Fox. Ohio State 3.5 point favorite here. Totals tick down to 45.5. A lot of uncertainty in this game. Is Drew Aller going to go? I don't know. I would lean towards yes, but we won't know until game time. Not going to find out from Franklin, who's, look, small game James. He normally doesn't win these games. He's been very bad in these marquee games. But Ryan Day, and James Franklin's 1-9 against Ohio State. But Ryan Day in these top 5 matchups has also not been good. Something has to give here. Just on the surface, what I find interesting is that this number is similar to like what Ohio State was laying on the road to Oregon, but we've seen Ohio State. We didn't know a lot about them. They lost that game to Oregon. I thought that line was too high, and they arguably should have lost to Nebraska. There's more uncertainty than just the quarterback situation with Penn State. Penn State's right tackle, questionable. Sutton, one of their better edge rushers, questionable. On the Ohio State side, it's their offensive line. They've suffered another injury at left tackle. They lost their starting left tackle for the season. After their backup went down, they had to kick their left guard out. There was already questions on the right side. That is my biggest concern for Ohio State here is, does their offensive line hold up, or does it completely just deaden this offense? They couldn't get the run game going because of the offensive line issues against Nebraska last week. I assume that would be difficult again against Penn State. What do you see here in this Big Ten matchup that I think that this game means more to Ohio State? Ohio State loses this game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a risk that they don't make the college football playoff because they won't make the Big Ten championship. They won't make the Big Ten championship. It's interesting. Would a 10-2 Ohio State get in? They won't have any marquee wins, but Indiana, assuming Indiana keeps winning, would end up being one. And then you would take a 10-2 Ohio State over an 11-1 Indiana because they won head-to-head. They had the strength of schedule advantage. That's an interesting discussion. But things are going to get really interesting if Ohio State loses this game. In these matchups all year, we've just seen the home team with the points. That just take the points. That's the way that I would lean. But there's a ton of uncertainty in this game. What are you saying?
I think you hit one of the two biggest handicaps in this game, and that is the Ohio State offensive line. Left guard Donovan Jackson is going to get kicked out, slide out to left tackle after Josh Simmons lost for the year. You mentioned that Zen Mikowski was the backup. Absolutely, even if he was healthy, absolutely horrific performance last week. 20 drop back, 20 pass blocking assignments, gave up 2 sacks, 4 pressures. I actually have 2 data sources to show me pressures, and one of them was much worse than that.
He was bad, but he was bad, and if he played, it would be bad. But now without him, you're like impacting multiple positions.
Yep.
With the right side already in question.
And we do this all the time with offensive lines. When you have guards playing tackles, when you have third string centers, when you have this is a true trickle down effect to the rest of the offense, especially zone read, which is what the Buckeyes like to run a lot with Will Howard. And I will say that Donovan Jackson moving out from left guard to left tackle, he has 4 snaps of experience in his college career. 2,045 snaps. He's had 4 at left tackle. So, and we've already had problems with the Buckeyes offensive line. I mean, they are outside the top 50 in line yards and pass blocking. Nebraska pushed them around. Everybody's pushing them around. And I'm not going to sit here and say that we know that Penn State is the same type of defensive line they've had the past few years. I don't think they have. I think that they've got, especially Abdul Carter, there's a couple guys in new positions. I do think they have better linebacker play than Ohio State. But on this side of the ball, the offensive line is a true problem. And Quinshon Judkins trying to get that running game going with Will Howard, it's going to be a problem with this offensive line. So I think that's one big part of the handicap. The other one stuck is this is the Andy Kotelnicki money game right here. This is why you went out and got him. This is why you went out and spent a whole bunch of money. And I think last week, I'm not sure if Bo Prabula was planned on coming into this game against Ohio State, and he just had to come in last week. But what a test run from an RPO perspective. Andy Kotelnicki has had.
He might be a better fit for the Kotelnicki offense.
He's Jalen
Um,
Daniels. He's Jalen Daniels.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but so from a talent perspective, but yeah, there's the two things that wonder about. Like he might be a better fit, but he's obviously not as talented throwing as Howard.
Right.
But is he going to play? And also, Ohio State will be at least prepared for him,
Yes.
which Wisconsin wasn't. We've seen that element of surprise. We'll talk about Texas A&M in a bit. So you don't have that working in your favor, which just adds the uncertainty of this game. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think the first thing I started with Kotelnicki was, has he faced Jim Knowles head to head? To me, that was really important because Jim Knowles does like to go cover zero. He will blitz the hell out of you. They have played each other. I'm sorry, the coordinators have gone against each other. The Kotelnicki offense at Kansas in 2021 was beaten 55-3 by Oklahoma State. In fairness, that was that 2-10 Kansas team that Leipold had just taken over. I don't think that's really a good litmus test about where Kotelnicki's offense is against Jim Knowles. But at the same time, it does give Kotelnicki a little bit of experience against Knowles 4-2-5. What are you going to do with pre-snap motion? Now that you have Prabula in there, what can you do from pre-snap, gun, shotgun, pistol? We saw a lot of pistol. Once I did my research on the Penn State offense, it's not really the zone read that's going to attack this Ohio State defensive front. It's power football. So I think Singleton and Allen you're just going to see them set up in a pistol formation, one back set. And I think you're going to see Prabula potentially be an RPO decoy. But this allows Andy Kotelnicki to unlock 100% of his playbook, something he could not do with Drew Aller. Now, Drew Aller may play. We'll see how the knee is going. But this feels like Texas A&M. I now have two options. I have one that can get into your secondary, and I have one that can run the RPO. It just makes life tougher for the Ohio State defense. You combine that with the offensive line issues of Ohio State. I took Penn State at 4. I would take Penn State at +3. I would take them all the way down to 2 in this game. And for somebody that laid Ohio State not to make the playoff +450 and thought I was going to get laughed out of the building this summer, this is a big one. This is a real big one. Ohio State's playoff chances are on the line here.
Yeah, I think the Penn State receivers, their lack of explosiveness worries me a bit because I do think Ohio State does have at least a couple guys that they can throw at Warren. I don't know what the court, like if Aller goes and he's not healthy, that scares me.
Yep.
So for now, I'm staying away. I would lean under as well, but there's going to be a lot of aggressive coverage in this game, so you could have some more explosiveness. Although, like the Ohio State offensive line, that probably limits that, and the Penn State receivers, yeah, I think Ohio State can match up with. So, and I think both coaches might be conservative. Yeah, it's all about the play action and the misdirection, getting those Ohio State vulnerable linebackers. And does the Ohio State defensive line, like sometimes they look great, sometimes they don't show up. That's a big factor as well. I certainly would lean Penn State, lean the under. Should be a good one to kick off Saturday's slate.